The sky hung heavy with rolling clouds. Rain tapped a frantic rhythm on white folding chairs. Emily Parker stood at the altar's edge. Her silk gown swayed in the wind. Thunder rumbled in the distance. She raised her hand to smooth a stray curl. Her heart pounded like a war drum. Guests held umbrellas braced against gusts. Pastel bouquets wilted under the downpour. Emily inhaled damp air, tasting petrichor and fear. She opened her mouth to speak. Her throat seized in a sudden spasm. No sound emerged. Panic flashed in her green eyes. James Thompson, her groom, frowned in concern. The organist faltered on the final chord. Lightning split the sky in white fury. Emily clenched her fists at her sides. Her vision blurred with tears. She tried again to utter vows. Her voice vanished completely. A gasp echoed through the assembled crowd. James stepped forward on sodden grass. He placed a steady hand on her waist. "Emily," he whispered softly. Her lips trembled. She pressed a palm to her throat. Her pulse raced beneath damp lace. Suddenly, a harsh shout cut through rain. A masked figure emerged beyond the hedge. He held a dripping cloth to his face. Emily's breath hitched in her chest. The figure lurched toward the altar. Guests recoiled in alarm under soggy umbrellas. Emily locked eyes with James. His jaw clenched in grim determination. The organist abandoned the bench in panic. The masked man raised a glinting object. Steel reflected flashes of lightning. Emily felt ice creep up her spine. She clutched James's arm like a lifeline. Her vision tunneled to the weapon. A gun barrel protruded through the raining veil. A single droplet slid down the steel. Time stilled around her racing heartbeat. She squeezed her eyes shut. A rush of wind carried distant sirens. James's voice curled through the chaos. "I will finish your vows, Em." Her breath caught in her lungs. She peered through lashes at his determined face. He raised his voice above thunder's roar. His words rang clear and cutting. "I promise to honor you in sickness and health." Emily's lips moved, but no sound came. He stepped closer to shield her. The masked man advanced through dripping ferns. Emily's fingers trembled around James's hand. Her knees weakened beneath her. He sank one knee on sodden ground. Rainwater pooled around his polished shoes. He drew a deep breath and spoke. "For richer or poorer, I will stand by you." Her chest tightened with desperation. Her gaze lifted to his steady brown eyes. He paused as lightning lit his face. Emily's heart pounded against her ribs. She saw fear and fierce love there. The masked man drew nearer still. Every guest froze in silent dread. Emily's teeth chattered in sudden cold. James extended an umbrella over them both. He continued without hesitation. "In joy and sorrow, I give you my hand." Emily's tears mingled with rain on her cheeks. Her throat ached with silent pleas. The gunman stopped 10 feet away. He pointed the barrel at James's chest. Emily gasped in frozen horror. James's voice never faltered. "I vow to protect you all my days." Thunder cracked like an explosion overhead. A deafening boom rolled across the courtyard. Emily's ears rang in ringing silence. The gunman flinched under the thunderclap. Emily seized James's other hand. Her nails dug into his palm. He finished with unwavering resolve. "With this ring, I marry you now and forever." He slipped the band onto her trembling finger. The crowd exhaled in collective relief. The masked man staggered, dropping his weapon. He collapsed to his knees with a moan. James stood slowly, holding Emily protectively. She stared at the ring's glinting circle. A sudden flash revealed the gunman's soaked face. He lifted his head in shaky defeat. Emily's breath returned in ragged gasps. She clung to James under the dripping umbrella. He lowered his voice to a whisper. "You're safe now." Emily closed her eyes with relief. Her silent tears fell freely at last. A distant siren grew ever closer. James brushed wet hair from her forehead. Emily opened her eyes to darkness beyond rain. A silhouette emerged through the gloom. Police lights flickered at the gate. Emily's chest tightened in renewed fear. She looked back to James. He bit his lip against uncertainty. Rain beat a frantic farewell on umbrellas. Their vows hung in soggy air like promise. A police officer sprinted toward the altar. Emily's heart thudded in tense anticipation. James squeezed her hand with quiet strength. She rose on shaky legs beside him. Her eyes searched the masked man. He lay unconscious in the wet grass. Emily's throat clenched once again. James backed away toward the oncoming officer. He never released her hand. Emily stared at the open gate. Lightning flickered across the police cruiser. She wondered if more danger lurked ahead. James leaned close and murmured, "They caught him." But something's still off. Emily's breath froze in her lungs. A sudden shadow moved behind the hedge. Her pulse thundered with fresh alarm. She gripped James's coat collar. He turned, eyes widening at the dark shape. The hedge rustled under unseen weight. Emily swallowed hard against mounting dread. A cold gust raced down the aisle. Footsteps approached from the storm beyond. James pulled her closer to his side. Her lost voice trembled in silent terror. He planted a kiss on her wet cheek. She shivered as thunder rolled again. James lifted his umbrella high above them. Her world narrowed to his steady presence. Beyond the hedge, a figure stepped forward. Emily's heart seized in her chest. She blinked against the driving rain. James's arm tightened around her waist. She lost her voice entirely once more. He inhaled through clenched teeth. "We'll speak together," he promised low. Emily's gaze locked on the approaching stranger. Raindrops raced down her veil in rivulets. James swallowed before calling out, "Who's there?" Silence snapped like a broken promise. Footsteps halted just beyond their reach. Emily's lost voice echoed in her mind. James's vow still hung in stormy air. She squeezed his hand, breath caught. A hand emerged from the darkness. Frozen, she watched as it reached forward. A moment later, the hedge shook violently. Emily's pulse hammered as the figure lunged. She felt a rough cloth drape over her eyes. Her world plunged into total darkness. A ragged breath whispered in her ear. Emily's heart thudded in absolute terror. He spoke her name in urgent hush. The world spun under the storm's wrath. She clung to James's guiding hand. Thunder rolled like distant artillery fire. Emily's main goal burned in her mind. Survive this ceremony unbroken and true. A sudden crunch of gravel at their feet. James froze, voice tight with alarm. She felt his body tense beside hers. Her lost voice screamed in silent panic. A low growl rumbled through the blackout. James exhaled, bracing for the unknown. Emily's world held its breath in darkness. Then a blinding light pierced her blindfold. A firm hand yanked the cloth away. She gasped at her own blurred vision. James's silhouette stood between her and danger. A second figure lay prone on wet grass. Police batons clattered against the stone path. Emily's heart pounded with hope and dread. James whispered, "Hold on." Sirens wailed just beyond the hedge. Emily's lost voice finally quivered within. He spun her gently away from peril. Her goal remained now crystal clear. Speak her vows before this storm ends. And then she heard a new voice call. "Is everyone safe?" The rain seemed to pause mid-downpour. Emily stared at James with fierce gratitude. The future waited just beyond the fog. A hand reached for her trembling arm. Her fate hung on the next words spoken. A storm of questions raged inside her. She summoned courage from silent resolve. The moment before her words returned hovered. Then a calm voice said, "May we continue?" Emily inhaled against the charged air. Her heart hammered between fear and hope. She fixed her gaze on James's steady eyes. The rain resumed as if on cue. Emily Parker found a spark of strength. She prepared to speak at last. And then a distant shout cut through thunder's roar. Emily Parker woke before dawn. Soft light filtered through linen curtains. Her small Brooklyn apartment smelled of coffee. She tied back auburn hair in a loose bun. Her heart still pounded from yesterday's storm. She glanced at the wedding dress on a mannequin. Silk gleamed under the studio's halogen lights. She ran a fingertip over delicate lace. A picture of her parents smiled from the desk. Her mother wore a beaded gown from 1985. Her father's bow tie sat slightly askew. Emily traced a scar on her mother's hand. "I'll make today perfect," she whispered to the air. She brewed espresso in a chipped Grez mug. Steam curled like tendrils in morning stillness. Her phone buzzed with text notifications. Clients confirming last-minute seating changes. She exhaled and tapped a reply with calm reassurance. Her career as an event planner thrived on pressure. She loved details, ribbon color, table height, music cues. Her brown eyes brightened at perfect symmetry. Outside, traffic honked on Park Avenue. Taxi cabs wheezed past her open window. She slipped into a crisp navy blazer. Her nameplate gleamed on her desk again. Emily Parker, Celebrations by Design. She straightened a stack of invitations. Postage stamps lined them like tiny sentinels. Family-framed photos watched from every corner. Her older brother, Marcus, grinned in graduation gowns. Her sister, Grace, held a baby Emily in arms. Her parents' eyes bore pride and concern. They'd supported her dream since she was 8. Her phone chimed with a voicemail. She pressed play as rain pelted the sidewalk. "Emily, it's Mom. Call me before noon." Her chest tightened at her mother's tone. She rubbed her throat, memory of silence yesterday. A faint tremor shook her confidence. She dialed home as she grabbed her keys. Her neighbor, Mrs. Nguyen, waved from the hallway. "Big day today, dear," she asked kindly. Emily smiled and nodded. Her vision blurred for a stunned second. She shook her head to clear it. Subway rumble echoed under her feet. She imagined vows slipping through silent lips. Her mind flickered to locked doors and hidden threats. She stepped onto the train, heart in her throat. Voices of hurried commuters surrounded her. A mysterious breeze drifted through the car. It carried a scent of wet earth and something else. Her pulse leapt at the strange familiarity. Emily pressed her hand against her chest. She wondered if yesterday's danger followed her here. Her thumb hovered over her phone's camera. A silent question hung between panic and resolve. What did she miss in yesterday's storm? Her destination approached 2 stops away. She braced herself for whatever lay ahead. And then her phone lit with a text from James. "Meet me before the venue. We need to talk." Emily felt a shiver of dread and hope. She stepped off at Atlantic Avenue Station. Rain slicked her shoes on the platform. Her breath formed clouds in the cool air. She checked her reflection in a glass panel, eyes wide, lip trembling. She tucked her loose strand of hair behind an ear. She climbed the stairs, each step a silent promise. Outside, the wedding venue loomed in mist. White pillars stood against storm-dark sky. Her heart skipped at the sight of James's car. It idled under a flickering street lamp. Emily caught her reflection in its window. She swallowed hard against uneasy anticipation. Footsteps echoed on wet pavement behind her. She turned, hope and fear tangled in her chest. Lightning flashed through the clouds, and she thought, what secret waits inside those doors? Emily Parker lived in a brownstone on Carroll Street. She rose before sunrise each day. Soft jazz played from her vintage record player. She brewed dark roast coffee in a French press. Her small kitchen smelled of toasted brioche. Emily tied on a navy apron and smiled. She ran Celebrations by Design from her loft. Clients called her meticulous and unflappable. Yet behind calm eyes, worry often stirred. Her office walls held wedding photos and thank-you notes. She remembered her own failed engagement years ago. Her fiancé walked away without warning. Emily still replayed his last words in her mind. "I'm sorry." She pressed her palm to a framed snapshot. She and Marcus, her older brother, laughed on the beach. Marcus was her rock through every storm. He worked as a firefighter in Bay Ridge. His broad grin eased her every fear. Evenings, they shared takeout on her rooftop deck. They watched Manhattan's skyline glow at dusk. Emily leaned against the railing, sipping wine. She felt her father's steady presence in her heart. Her parents lived 2 blocks away. Sundays, they gathered for pancakes and stories. Her mother baked blueberry muffins for breakfast. She always reminded Emily of life's simple joys. Her father read the Sunday paper aloud. He paused when Emily's phone buzzed with urgent texts. "You'll crush it today," he reassured her. Emily smiled, though her throat tightened. She feared losing her voice again. At 32, she'd perfected public speaking. But yesterday's crisis still haunted her. She kept throat lozenges in every pocket. And tea warmed her through every morning. Her loft overlooked a quiet courtyard. Potted ferns lined the iron fire escape. She watered them each Thursday without fail. Green shoots reminded her of new beginnings. She dressed in tailored blouses and slim slacks. Her auburn hair fell in loose waves at her back. Makeup was minimal, just enough to feel poised. Clients trusted her polish and precision. She negotiated florist contracts and menu tastings. She choreographed first dances and evening send-offs. Every detail fit together like puzzle pieces. Still, she often felt one edge missing. Her phone pinged again. A message from Grace. "Good luck, I'll be there with the kids." Emily's younger sister always brought laughter. Two little nephews tumbled in her arms. They called her Aunt Em and demanded candies. Their giggles filled her heart with warmth. She cradled one in her arms on the couch. He propped a toy truck on her shoulder. His blue eyes mirrored her own. "You're my hero," he whispered in toddler talk. Emily hugged him close, breathing in innocence. Yet a subtle unease pulsed beneath the joy. Her parents noticed her restless glances. "You seem distracted," her mother said gently. Emily forced a laugh, just last-minute nerves. Her father nodded but didn't press further. He studied her with careful eyes. At lunch, she walked to the corner deli. She ordered a turkey and Swiss on rye. Sheets of wax paper crackled around her sandwich. A familiar face passed by in the street. A stranger, watching her with intent eyes. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She forced her shoulders to relax. "It's nothing," she told herself. She returned to her loft and opened client files. Seating charts sprawled across her desk. She colored code tables with highlighters. Her phone rang with a familiar ringtone. It was James Thompson. She hesitated before answering. "Emily." His voice sounded steady. "I need to go over the ceremony plan." Her pulse quickened. "Of course." They spent 20 minutes refining microphone cues. James thanked her for covering his sudden break. "You saved the day," he said warmly. Emily smiled at his praise. She pinched her thumb and forefinger together. "Don't lose your voice on me today," he teased. She laughed, but her throat tightened. "Promise," she whispered. After the call, she stared out the window. Car horns blared in the late afternoon rush. She glanced at her own reflection. Her green eyes shone with determination. She straightened her spine and set her jaw. She tapped a loose ribbon on her desk. It reminded her of yesterday's downpour. "I won't let fear steal my day again." Her phone chimed one more time. A text from James Reed, "Meet me at the venue in 30. Emily exhaled and reached for her keys. Her heart fluttered with hope and dread. "This time, I'll speak my vows." She stepped into the hall of mirrors and paused. Her reflection fractured into dozens of Emily's. Each version stared back with a different story. She chose the one with steady eyes and walked out to meet her future. But what if my voice fails again? Emily arrived at the stately marble entrance just after noon. She carried her emergency kit and a fresh voice inside. The sky threatened rain once more. She stepped onto polished granite. Her stilettos clicked echoing in the foyer. An envelope lay waiting on a mahogany table. It bore no return address. Her name was scrawled in jagged letters. Emily's pulse quickened at the sight. She recognized the heavy cream paper immediately. It was the same stock used for her invitation suite. Her breath caught in her throat. She peeled open the top flap. Inside, a single card slipped free. Black ink curled in a familiar script. It read only 3 words, "Remember the vow." Emily's hand shook as she reread it. She looked up at the vaulted ceiling. Chandeliers glittered above crystal columns. Her heart thudded in sudden alarm. She pressed the card against her chest. It felt damp, as if it had been rushed. A distant echo of thunder rolled outside. Emily traced the letters with trembling fingers. The vow her mind spun back to the altar. Why would someone remind her of that moment? She stuffed the card inside her clutch. She approached the registration desk. James's assistant, Carla, greeted her with a smile. "Everything's set," Carla said brightly. Emily forced a nod and answered. "Thank you." She glanced back at the card's corner. It peeked from her purse like a hidden threat. Carla handed her a clipboard of final details. Emily scanned seating arrangements and speaker cues. A voice crackled on the receptionist's walkie-talkie. "Security breach at the north gate," it announced. Emily froze mid-breath. Carla frowned, eyes widening. "North gate?" Emily echoed. Carla shook her head. "We'll check on it." Emily watched Carla hurry away. Her stomach twisted into knots. She pressed her palm to her belly. Her pulse fluttered like trapped birds. She remembered the masked man's face, That stupid disguise only deepened her fear. She slipped away toward the east wing, past portraits of long-dead donors and benefactors. Silent marble ghosts watched her every step. She found a side hallway shrouded in shadow. Her hand brushed cold plaster walls. She checked her phone for James's last text. It read, "Meet me before the ceremony." She tapped his name and dialed. He answered on the second ring. "Emily, everything okay?" Her voice trembled as she spoke. "I received a note. And there's a security alert." He inhaled sharply. "Stay where you are, don't open any doors." Emily nodded, though he couldn't see. She slipped the clutch tighter against her side. A distant alarm echoed through the building. Red lights blinked from exit signs overhead. Her breath came in quick bursts. She glanced at a fire exit marked "Authorized personnel only." James's voice buzzed in her ear. "I'm sending Marcus to find you." Tears stung her eyes unbidden. She clenched her jaw against panic. "Please hurry," she whispered. She pressed herself against the wall, her heels scraped on the tiled floor. Footsteps approached in anxious thuds. She slid behind a heavy oak door. It creaked softly as she entered. Inside was a small storage closet. Stacks of folding chairs lined the walls. She pressed herself into the narrow space. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She shut the door slowly. It clicked closed in muted finality. Her mind raced for answers. Who sent "Remember the Vow"? Was it a threat or a warning? She touched her throat, half expecting silence. Her voice felt fragile and distant. James's voice crackled again. "I'm almost there." Emily exhaled in shaky relief. She folded the card and shoved it in her pocket. A new sense of dread settled in her chest. She tapped her foot nervously. Thud, thud, thud. Something thumped against the door's exterior. Emily froze, breath caught in her throat. A deep voice called through the wood. "Emily, it's Marcus." Her eyes filled with tears of relief. She pressed her ear to the door. "Let me in." She fumbled the lock latch. Marcus's broad shoulders filled the frame. He smiled, but his eyes remained watchful. Emily stumbled into his arms. He held her tight against his chest. "It's okay now," he murmured. She nodded, voice failing to follow. He guided her back into the hallway. Flush lights revealed more security guards. They searched each corner with crisp commands. Emily followed Marcus through gleaming corridors. Thousands of crystal droplets sparkled above. She pressed her hand over her heart. James appeared at the far end. His eyes were dark with concern. He rushed forward and caught her hand. "Are you safe?" he asked urgently. She nodded, tears slipping free. He led her to a quiet office suite. Carla waited there with 2 coffees. James handed Emily a cup. She cradled it between cold palms. Steam curled upward from the rim. James paced before the window. He tapped fingertips against the glass. Emily watched the rain sluice the grounds. Her mind replayed storms both literal and internal. James turned, eyes fierce. "We'll find out who sent that card." Emily raised her coffee in agreement. She took a sip and felt warmth spread. Her resolve hardened like tempered steel. She'd uncover the mystery of the vow, and she'd do it with her voice intact. A sudden gust slammed the office door shut. Emily startled, spilling cold coffee on her lap. She yelped and jumped to her feet. James crossed the room and checked the latch. "Locked from the inside," he said. Emily pressed her back against the door. Her pulse throbbed at her temples. Footsteps echoed faintly down the corridor. Marcus peered through the frosted glass. He signaled them with a raised eyebrow. James crossed to the desk and grabbed his phone. He dialed security. Emily sank onto a plush leather chair. She cradled her coffee like a lifeline. Her fingertips trembled against the warm mug. Thunder rumbled overhead in distant warning. Rain pattered against the window panes. Emily watched water race down glass. Her mind replayed the masked man's glare. Something about his eyes felt familiar. She shook her head, trying to clear thoughts. The phone clicked. Security responded. "We're investigating," the guard said. "Stay put." James hung up and sat beside Emily. He offered her a reassuring smile. She managed a weak nod. A sudden thump rattled the door. Marcus tensed beside them. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Who would come here now? A low growl drifted through the wall. James and Marcus exchanged alarmed looks. Emily pressed her palms flat on the desk. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. A second explosion of force hit the door. Splinters flew into the hallway. Emily scrambled from the chair. James leapt forward to shield her. Marcus yanked on the handle. The door creaked open a crack. A drenched figure stood beneath dripping hair. Emily swallowed against panic. Her voice remained trapped in silence. The stranger's eyes widened in recognition. He extended a blood-drenched letter. Emily hesitated before stepping forward. She plucked the envelope from his hand. Ink smeared under water droplets. It read, "Stop speaking your vows." Emily's breath came in shallow gasps. Marcus stepped between her and the messenger. "Who sent you?" he demanded. The man's gaze flicked to James. "I was told she must not speak." Emily's hands curled into fists. She pressed the letter to her heart. Her world tilted on a single hinge. James placed a hand on her shoulder. "Why are they targeting you?" The stranger shook his head. "They won't say." He turned and vanished down the hall. Emily flinched at his retreating silhouette. Rainwater dripped from the ceiling tiles. She closed her eyes and exhaled. Her throat itched with unshed words. Marcus closed the door firmly, locking down the office again. James found the security camera feed. He rewound to the masked man's arrival. The CCTV angle obscured his face. Emily watched his gait with uneasy focus. Something in his clothes matched her dress fabric. She blinked in sudden realization. Could the threat come from someone she knew? James caught her look and paused playback. He faced her with solemn eyes. "We'll trace every guest's invite order." Emily nodded, grateful for action. She felt a flicker of strength. Marcus retrieved 2 waters from the mini fridge. He handed one to Emily, one to James. Silence settled between them. Emily's gaze drifted to the window. Outside, umbrellas clustered like dark mushrooms. A flower girl dashed through the rain, her white dress plastered to her legs. Emily's heart clenched with pity. She imagined the child's fear. A distant clap of thunder shook the glass. James met her eyes. "We can't let fear win." Emily lifted her water and drank. She tasted determination in every sip. Her voice felt fragile but alive. She placed the empty cup on the desk. Marcus marched to the door and barricaded it. James connected with venue management. Emily rifled through her emergency kit. She found throat tea and ginger lozenges. She crushed a lozenge in her mouth. Warm heat spread down her throat. Her pulse slowed to steady rhythm. She closed her eyes to savor the relief. Suddenly, her phone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it free and read the message, "Meet me behind the chapel in 10. Emily's breath stuttered. Behind the chapel meant exposed grounds. Her mind whirled with possibilities. Was it friend or foe this time? James reached for her phone. He scrolled the sender's number. It matched the masked man's. Emily's stomach plummeted. Marcus blocked her path. "No," his voice was firm. "We'll go together." Emily glanced at James. He nodded in agreement. She tucked the phone into her clutch. She squared her shoulders with resolve. Threats loomed, but so did her vow. She would not stand silent again. James opened the door with quiet care. Marcus led them down gilded hallways. Crystal sconces cast dancing shadows. Emily's violet heels clicked on marble. She gripped her clutch like a shield. Her throat tingled with anticipation. They reached the chapel's side door. James whispered, "Ready?" Emily inhaled slow and deep. "Yes." He pushed the door open. A shaft of light touched wet stone. Emily stepped into misted air. James and Marcus flanked her closely. They advanced toward the rear courtyard. A single lantern flickered by an archway. Emily's shadow stretched long and thin. Footsteps echoed on ancient brick. She peered into gloom for movement. A whisper of silk brushed her arm. Emily turned to see Carla emerge. Her face was pale as chalk. "They found more notes," Carla said. She handed Emily 3 torn messages. Each read, "Silence is a promise." Emily's chest tightened in fresh alarm. She scanned the empty courtyard. Rain-soaked flagstones beneath her feet. A garden sculpture loomed in the mist. Its stone eyes seemed to watch her. James circled behind her for support. Marcus scanned every shadow. Emily unfolded the smallest note. Ink bled into water-softened paper. She swallowed around sudden dryness. Her gaze met James's steady brown eyes. He stepped forward into the archway. A figure loomed in lantern light. Emily's breath caught at the silhouette. Her heart thundered with urgent questions. She gripped James's arm with fierce intent. The figure lifted a hand slowly, revealing a familiar gold wedding band. Emily froze at the glittering circle. Her mind raced back to one key face, her ex-fiancé's. Emily followed Marcus into his Bay Ridge garage at dawn. Sunlight slanted through dusty windows. Weights lined one wall in neat rows. A heavy punching bag swung from a steel beam. Marcus tossed her a pair of black gloves. "Trust the process," he said softly. Emily tied laces with trembling fingers. Her heart raced with anticipation. She slipped her hands into the padded gloves. Her knuckles tingled with cold resolve. Marcus demonstrated a basic jab. He stood barefoot on the gym's rubber mats. "Hip, then snap," he coached. Emily watched his stance closely. She mimicked his movements slowly. Her first punch clipped empty air. Marcus nodded encouragingly. Again, she tried, this time metal thumped. The bag swung back and forth. Emily tasted triumph on her tongue. "Good," Marcus smiled. He stepped in and showed a cross. His arm arced in a fluid motion. Emily studied his technique. Her muscles burned with effort. She tried the cross herself. Her glove met the bag with a solid crack. Adrenaline pulsed through her veins. She exhaled sharply with each strike. Marcus moved behind her, correcting posture. "Keep your guard up," he reminded. Emily's brow glistened with sweat. She wiped it away and nodded. They circled the bag together. He feinted left, then she jabbed right. Their rhythm built with each exchange. Her confidence swelled like rising tide. Marcus handed her water from a steel bottle. She drank deeply, feeling life return. Her throat felt stronger with each breath. Next, Marcus set up boxing pads. He tapped them at shoulder height. "React," he said. Emily steadied herself. He jabbed the pad once. She jabbed back decisively. He added a cross, then she responded. Her arms grew heavy, but her spirit soared. After 10 rounds, Marcus called time. Emily sank onto a stool, chest heaving. Her gloves came off with a soft rip. She dropped water on the mat. Her legs trembled with exhilaration. Marcus offered a towel and a grin. "You're tougher than you think." Emily let that sink in. They moved to the shooting range next. Marcus loaded a small .22 pistol. Emily's pulse jumped at the sight of steel. He placed targets 10 yards away. He taught her proper stance first. Feet shoulder width, knees slightly bent. She gripped the pistol with both hands. Her fingers steadied around the cold handle. Marcus guided her arms into position. "Breathe in, align sights, exhale on trigger." Emily took a deep breath. She squeezed the trigger slowly. A sharp bang echoed in the narrow lane. One target dropped in the center. Her chest swelled with pride. Marcus replaced the target farther out. Emily adjusted her grip and aimed again. 2 more shots hit close together. She blinked in surprise. Her confidence solidified with each round. After shooting, Marcus led her through drills. Push-ups, planks, and agility ladders. Emily's body ached with every movement, yet she felt alive in the ache. She punched, ducked, and sprinted. Marcus timed each drill sharply. Her fastest sprint shaved seconds off. By midday, she collapsed onto a yoga mat. She gasped for air in welcome exhaustion. Marcus tossed her a bottle of electrolytes. She drank while he stretched beside her. He spoke of his own fears once. A fire that trapped him in a burning home. He'd felt powerless then. Training had saved his life. Emily listened, absorbing every word. Her throat closed at his confession. She realized strength was more than muscle. It was heart and will combined. She rolled onto her back and stared upward. Sunbeams pierced dusty air like spotlights. She placed a hand over her racing heart. Her voice felt stronger already. Marcus offered one final lesson, how to break free from a choke hold. He demonstrated on a training dummy. Emily watched bones bend in realistic joint. Then it was her turn. Marcus wrapped arms around her. She found leverage and drove a knee upward. Marcus released with an approving nod. Emily exhaled a breath she didn't know she held. She sat up, feeling empowered. Marcus rested a hand on her shoulder. "You're ready," he said simply. Emily pushed to her feet. Her legs wobbled but held her weight. Her gloves lay empty on the floor. She stood among the weights and targets. Her mind replayed every lesson learned. The rain had passed outside. Sunlight warmed the wet asphalt beyond the garage. Emily reached into her clutch. She pulled out the latest note, "Meet me behind the chapel in 10." She folded the paper deliberately. Her fingers no longer trembled. She pocketed the note and squared her shoulders. Marcus led her back to the car. She climbed into the passenger seat. Her reflection in the window beamed determination. Her voice, once fragile, roared anew within. She placed her hand over her throat. She felt strength ripple through her veins. Her main goal remained, speak her vows. But now she could defend more than words. A new danger still awaited ahead. Yet Emily knew she was ready. And she would not be silenced again. Emily stood in the chapel's shadowed nave. Candles flickered along polished pews. James flanked her on one side. Marcus and Carla trailed behind. The stone floor felt cold under her heels. She clutched her clutch like armor. A sudden creak echoed overhead. She looked up at the ancient beams. A hidden speaker crackled to life. James raised an eyebrow in confusion. A distorted voice spoke Emily's name. Her pulse pounded in her ears. "Emily Parker," the voice hissed. Her breath caught in silent panic. "Your promise must be broken." She scanned the faces around her. Candles guttered in sudden draft. Carla shivered and hugged her coat tighter. Marcus stepped forward with a glare. "Show yourself," he demanded. Silence answered him like a tomb. Emily swallowed hard and advanced. She pressed her palm against cold marble. Her throat clenched at the memory of vows. The voice spoke again from above. "You never loved him first." Her chest twisted in shock. She turned to James in disbelief, his face drained of color. He grimaced and shook his head. "It can't be true," he whispered. Emily's mind spun with questions. The voice taunted her mercilessly. "Check your records, he's not your choice." Her eyes filled with tears she couldn't voice. She glanced at Marcus for support. He narrowed his eyes at the rafters. Carla gripped Emily's arm. "What records?" Emily mouthed silently. James drained his breath and drew close. He lifted his hand to her cheek. "Stay calm," he murmured. Emily forced herself to inhale steady breaths. The speaker hissed one last phrase. "Find the binder in the office." Then the crackle stopped abruptly. Silence swallowed every footstep. Emily's legs trembled beneath her. She realized the chapel doors were locked. James pulled out his phone light. He led her toward the altar. Marcus and Carla followed close. Emily knelt and searched beneath the pulpit. Her fingers brushed a small key. "Office key," she mouthed to James. He pocketed it carefully. She rose and led them to the parish office. The key fit the lock with a click. Inside lay rows of ledgers and binders. Dust motes danced in her phone beam. She scanned titles until one caught her eye. "Vow Records 2025. Her breath caught as she pulled it out. James and Marcus peered over her shoulder. She flipped pages until names appeared. Rows of dates, vows, and signatures. Her name listed alongside a stranger's. Her ex-fiancé's name, Daniel Hayes. She swallowed the shock like dry sand. James's face drained of blood. "Daniel," he whispered. Emily stared at the signature line. It bore a shaky, unfamiliar scrawl. Her chest tightened with betrayal. She traced the letters with disbelief. Daniel's voice echoed in her mind. "I'm sorry." Her heart thundered with fresh hurt. Carla backed away in shock. Marcus clenched his fists. James turned to her, eyes wide. "Emily, explain this." She swallowed the lump in her throat. Her voice remained locked behind fear. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks. She closed the binder with a snap. A heavy footstep sounded behind them. They turned to see Daniel Hayes himself. Rain dripped from his soaked coat. His gaze flicked from Emily to James. "I told you not to speak your vows." His words cut through the air. Emily's throat constricted in panic. James stepped protectively in front of her. Daniel's eyes glinted with hurt and anger. "You never belonged with him." Emily's mind reeled at his accusation. She clutched her throat as if to free her voice. Daniel moved closer, ignoring Marcus's glare. "I arranged everything," he confessed. Her heart sank at his admission. He pointed at the binder on the desk. "All these couples are false matches." James's jaw clenched at the betrayal. Emily staggered backward in shock. Marcus advanced toward Daniel. "Why, Daniel?" he growled. Daniel shook his head in sorrow. "I wanted to protect you." Emily's breath caught at his words. "Protect me from what?" she mouthed. Daniel's voice softened with regret. "Your family's secret, they promised." He faltered, eyes full of pain. Emily's heart pounded with confusion. James reached for her hand. She squeezed it back with trembling strength. Daniel swallowed hard and steadied himself. "I lost my voice one night," he began. Emily's vision blurred between them both. James raised an eyebrow at Daniel's confession. Marcus loomed behind with arms crossed. Daniel's next words fell like stones. "I'm your brother, Em." Emily's world froze in that moment. Her chest constricted under the weight of truth. Silence flooded the chapel office. She stared at Daniel's soaked form. Tears welled in her green eyes. James's grip on her hand tightened. Marcus's jaw worked in stunned disbelief. Carla pressed a hand to her mouth. Emily's lost voice screamed inside. Daniel stepped forward, voice gentle. "They hid my existence to spare you." Her heart splintered with sorrow. She pressed her hand to her chest. Her breath caught on unshed words. James whispered, "Emily." Her tears spilled over silently. She realized vows could break or heal, and now her trust lay in fragments. Daniel's sodden coat brushed her arm. His voice trembled with apology. "I'm sorry I silenced you twice." Emily's chest tightened with conflicted love. The chapel office felt impossibly small. She searched Daniel's eyes for truth. He dropped to one knee before her. "Let me speak your vows for you." Emily's tears fell in silent torrents. Her lost voice found strength inside. She lifted her gaze to the chandelier. One trembling question throbbed in her mind. Could she trust her brother's words again? Rain lashed against broken chapel windows. Emily's heart pounded like war drums. Daniel rose from the soaked floor. His eyes brimmed with desperate regret. James stepped forward, blocking her path. "Stay back," he warned softly. Daniel's gaze flicked to James's clenched fists. He raised trembling hands in peace. "I never wanted harm," he pleaded. Emily's lost voice echoed in her mind. She gripped James's arm for support. Marcus edged toward the door, ready. Carla hovered at the threshold. Thunder rolled like distant artillery. Daniel took a shaky breath. He advanced toward Emily slowly. James braced for a fight. Suddenly, a sharp crack split the air. Footsteps thundered on the chapel steps. A masked figure burst through the door. He wielded a soaked length of pipe. Emily's breath froze in her throat. Daniel shoved her behind him. "Go!" he yelled at James. James squared his shoulders defiantly. He strode forward to confront the intruder. Marcus lunged to intercept the blow. The assailant swung the pipe in a wide arc. Metal squealed against shifting stone. Marcus deflected with his forearm. He grunted as bruising pressure built. James dove low, grabbing the figure's wrist. They grappled amid scattered worship pamphlets. Emily pressed her hand to her chest. She felt Daniel slip past her. He headed for the side door. Carla shouted, "Daniel, wait!" Daniel hesitated for a heartbeat. The intruder jerked free of James's grip. He struck James across the ribs. James staggered back with a pained grunt. Marcus regained balance and charged. He tackled the masked man to the floor. Steel clanged against stone pillars. Carla rushed to Emily's side. Emily blinked against swirling chaos. Daniel yanked open the side door. He shouted back over the storm. "Meet me outside." Emily fought panic. Without a word, she followed him. Through the shattered door they slipped. Cold rain stung their faces. They burst into the overgrown courtyard. Moonlight glinted off rain-soaked cobbles. Emily's breath formed ghosts in the air. Daniel spotted a service van idling near Ivy. He dashed toward it. Emily hesitated, then followed. James and Marcus crashed through the door behind them. James called out her name. Emily ignored the plea. Daniel yanked open the van's sliding door. They tumbled inside next to loose crates. Daniel slammed it shut. Emily pressed her back against metal. Her pulse roared in her ears. Fog curled across the courtyard. James pounded on the van's side. "Open up!" he demanded. Daniel jammed the lock. Marcus joined the pounding throng. Emily's lost voice cried out in terror. Daniel ducked down behind crates. He grabbed her hand and squeezed. "We have to move," he whispered. Emily nodded, startled by his urgency. Daniel slid into the driver's seat. He turned the ignition with shaking fingers. Engine roared to life in the night. Tires spun on wet cobblestones. The van lurched forward abruptly. Emily gripped the edge of her seat. Daniel steered through narrow passages. James and Marcus chased on foot. Flashlights bobbed in the distance. Emily's chest tightened with fear. Daniel's knuckles whitened on the wheel. He darted between hedged mausoleums. Rain blurred street lamps into halos. Emily clutched Daniel's arm. "Where are we going?" she mouthed. Daniel's eyes flicked to her. "To the river." James halted at a wrought iron gate. He peered through raindrops. "Emily," he yelled, voice raw. Emily bit her lip in conflict. Daniel accelerated toward an old dock. The van skidded onto soggy planks. Wood groaned beneath their weight. River wind whipped across their faces. Emily fought panic's icy grip. Daniel killed the engine near a boat slip. He grabbed her and slid out. Emily's heels sank in muddy soil. She stepped after him onto the dock. Water lapped against rotting timbers. They sprinted toward a waiting skiff. Daniel shoved her aboard. She stumbled but kept moving. He shoved off with a hand-carved oar. The boat groaned as it floated free. James and Marcus burst onto the dock. They called after her in the storm. Emily peered back, tears mixing with rain. Daniel dipped the oar into inky water. The skiff drifted under ancient arches. Emily's heart thundered in her chest. She huddled beside Daniel for warmth. His hand found hers in the dark. The current carried them silently away. She watched the chapel fade behind rain. James's flashlight beam bobbed distant. Emily felt dread and relief collide. Daniel spoke softly through the roar. "They'll find me tonight." Emily's chest clenched with sorrow. She fought to steady her breath. "Why protect me at such cost?" she mouthed. Daniel paused, eyes fixed ahead. "I couldn't let you marry him under lies." Emily felt confusion twist her insides. Daniel's next words trembled with emotion. "I love you, Emily." Her heart lurched as thunder boomed. She searched his face for truth. He dipped the oar again in darkness. The river swallowed their footprints. Emily squeezed Daniel's hand. Her lost voice found strength behind her ribs. She would speak again. But first, she had to survive this night. Emily shivered as dawn broke over the river. Mist curled like ghostly fingers on the water. Daniel guided the skiff toward a hidden boathouse. Their paddles whispered against rotting wood. He tied the boat to a damp cleat. Emily stepped onto slippery planks. Her heart still thundered with last night's chase. Daniel wrapped his coat around her shoulders. She blinked against tears and rising sun. "I'm sorry I dragged you here," he said. Emily looked at him, voice finally stirring. "I'm alive," she whispered, voice cracked but clear. Daniel's eyes filled with relief. He brushed a raindrop from her cheek. They climbed a narrow stair into an attic loft. Dust motes danced in morning light through a window. Emily sank onto a worn velvet settee. Daniel closed the door against the world. She pressed her palm to her chest. Her pulse slowed in the safe hush. "Why did you save me?" she asked softly. He knelt before her, earnest. "I couldn't let you live a lie." Emily traced the scar on her wrist. She recalled training and betrayal and fear. Her voice grew stronger with each breath. "Tell me everything." Daniel exhaled and recounted his scheme. He confessed to falsifying records. He revealed the family secret he protected, a promise made to a dying relative. He wept as he explained his motives. Emily listened, tears falling freely now. She forgave his misguided devotion. "Your truth is mine too," she said. He breathed easier at her words. They embraced in quiet absolution. Outside, police sirens faded in distance. James and Marcus stood at the boathouse door. They knocked softly. Emily opened the door for them. James's eyes shone with relief. He held her hand in both of his. Marcus offered a reassuring nod. Carla stood behind, tired but safe. James faced Daniel with cautious calm. "We need to clear your name," he said. Emily squeezed James's hand. Her voice rang clear now. "We'll face this together." Daniel nodded gratefully. They descended the stairs as one. The river sparkled under the rising sun. Emily inhaled crisp air and felt peace. James guided her gently to the boathouse dock. She turned to Daniel with determined eyes. "We'll expose the truth," she vowed. Daniel drew a shaky breath. James placed an arm around Emily. "Let's go home," he said softly. They stepped into the waiting van. Sunlight warmed the leather seats. Emily settled between James and Daniel. Marcus and Carla followed in a second car. They drove toward the city skyline. Emily watched buildings gleam in morning light. She felt hope stir in her chest. At courthouse steps, they gathered allies. An official from Family Services waited. A lawyer held a thick file of evidence. James took Emily's hand for courage. Emily climbed the steps without fear. She readied her voice for justice. Inside, they met the family patriarch. His stern gaze softened at Emily's presence. He admitted the secret he'd kept. He acknowledged Daniel as his son. He apologized with trembling sincerity. Emily felt years of pain unravel. She forgave him with a nod. Daniel's full name was restored. His records cleared at last. The judge smiled and spoke their names. Justice replaced secrets with truth. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters captured their united family. Emily lifted her chin in proud relief. James kissed her hand tenderly. Daniel hugged Emily with brotherly warmth. Marcus and Carla grinned in triumph. Emily turned to James and laughed. Her voice rang clear and joyous. "We did it!" James swept her into his arms. Her vows no longer trapped in silence. He leaned in close and whispered, "I will always speak for you." Emily rested her head against his chest. She closed her eyes in contentment. The city hummed around their circle. Emily felt destiny shift like tides. She pictured their wedding rescheduled. Clear skies overhead and vows spoken. She imagined family and friends gathered. Laughter, music, and dancing into night. Her lost voice wrapped in promises kept. James brushed hair from her forehead. His wedding band glinted in sunlight. Emily traced its circle with her finger. She pressed it to her lips. "Forever," she murmured. Daniel stepped forward, proud brother. He offered her a small box. Inside lay matching rings for him, too. Emily's eyes widened in surprise. She placed his ring on her chain, a symbol of forgiveness and unity. The crowd cheered around them. Emily felt warmth in every embrace. She looked at James with shining eyes. "Are we ready?" he asked gently. Emily nodded, heart full. They walked down the courthouse steps, arms linked, side by side. Sunlight warmed their path forward. Emily inhaled freedom and love. Her journey from silence was complete. She raised her voice in a vow of her own. "I choose you." James smiled and echoed her words. "I choose you too." They sealed their promise with a kiss. Around them, life blossomed anew. Emily felt every word spoken. Her lost voice found its home. And as they stepped into tomorrow, hope carried them together, unbroken.